Good morning to one and all who has been joined our meeting. I am Priyanka from Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology. It is our pleasure to welcome you all for this Festival of Science, Vignan Utsav, which is organizing as a part of Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav, a science, technology and innovation for Atmanirbhar Bharat. This program has been organizing every month since September 2021. As you all are aware that our Honorable Prime Minister has decided to infuse new energy and consciousness among all by showcasing and celebrating achievements of the last 75 years of success. Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, through Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, showcasing the science, technology, and innovation system in Karnataka towards strengthening Atmanirbhar Bharat. Every month we have a theme. So the theme of this month is Indigenous Technologies. In this webinar, Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology is focusing to showcase the local indigenous technologies of Karnataka with a special focus on agriculture, health, education, rural technologies, and medicinal plant. So with this, I like to welcome our Executive Secretary, Mr. Hemanth Kumar, to brief about the webinar and the importance of indigenous technologies. Over to you, sir.
ಆಯ್ತಾ It's a very good morning and welcome all of you. Today is our fourth webinar series in this Azadi Ke Amrit Mahotsav program that we plan and propose to organize the entire year. Starting from this year, we started August and it will go till the next August. We have 13 themes and each month we identify a theme and we go about discussing these themes and would like to bring out a concept paper or white paper to where do we stand in terms of making a difference to lives of people by science, technology and innovation. So as you understand, I think if you are listening to us for the first time, I'd just like to briefly tell you, see the first month we started with science, technology and innovation institutions. Basically, each council, we have 30 plus state council. Each day, one of the councils selects this theme and discuss about this theme and the status of that theme for the specific state will be discussed and bring out the importance of it. So, second time we did the R&D institutions and human capacity development. These are the three things that we did. And today we are discussing about indigenous technology. I think all of you know, but I just like to reiterate what does it mean and what does it mean in terms of scientific institution to people like us and who are people who are pursuing science, technology, innovation and working in these areas. For us, I know indigenous technology means I mean, what is that our ancestors or forefathers did in terms of adopting technology, maybe in the agriculture, health systems, it could be structures, it could be biodiversity and all that. And how do this technology could be used for cross-sectoral purpose for potential upgradation? You all know that technology has to keep itself updated to suit to the current times. And now the third and most important point is that how do we adopt S&D component for these indigenous technologies, make it relevant and competitive in the present times, and also how do you make this indigenous technology convert into a product and services where the country can depend on its own indigenous technology for to become Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is nothing but self-reliant or self-sufficiency. Now, uh, okay, with this theme we started and we invited experts working in these areas, and I would just like to brief you about what my council do in one or two slides. I think we council in our job is to see that adoption of technologies developed in the R&D institutions. That's the primary goal. What we call it as lab to land or idea to innovation. You can call it as whatever you want, but the specific and primary focus for all of us is to see that whatever that gets done in the R&D institutions reaches people. That's what we are here for, all of us. And you know that we have 200 plus engineering institutions, more than 70 plus medical colleges, a number of agriculture universities, and we have IIC, IITs, IM, all of it in Karnataka. So, I mean, when we have so many institutions, I think people have a right to ask us, what is that in for us, apart from imparting education, apart from imparting not just undergraduate, postgraduate, and the higher degrees, what is in for the people? So that's where we come in, Science and Technology Council. So our job is to take applications of science and technology to the people through uh, to the support of both state and central governments. Uh, so I think these are a list of some of the technologies we're currently pursuing. So as you can see, is one of our core strength is geospatial technologies, which we have been using for almost 3 decades now, which has become an integral part of the district planning process. That is what we call it as Jilla Panchayats and district administration, that is the Deputy Commissioner Office. And we use extensively GIS and remote sensing to for providing informed decisions. And fortunately for us, Karnataka is the first state to bring in sort of a digital governance. I think we are the front runners in that, and the atmosphere is so conducive to push the technology as well. So, from a technologist point of view, I think we are proud that we are part of this process. And from past 2 years, we are also providing action plans using geospatial technology. That is, all the departments, we call it as line departments, wherein they're supposed to take up developmental projects for which it's been mandatory by the state that we have to use the technologies for to map all these developmental activities, and it needs to be uh, produced and supported for funding. I think that's a major achievement for that. And apart from that, we have a portal. Not only us, we have the Karnataka GS portal, which is providing a tremendous uh, data, both data information and services to public through GeoPortal. You don't have to come to our office; it's also available online. Apart from that, we have water, rainwater harvesting, watershed development, and all that. And education, I think we have supported almost is a 4.5 decades old thing. We have supported close to 13,000 projects so far. We have the parent information system. We have the alternate building technologies. We can also say energy efficient building technologies. Then we have many more programs including energy and all that. So I just would like to mention a few of the technologies, how it was indigenous and we made it more effective now. So what is indigenous technology? Technologies, I think all of you know that indigenous technologies are employed by the native inhabitants. It could be a country or a state or region, and it constitutes an important part of its cultural heritage and should therefore be protected to become self-reliant. That is, more and more use your own technologies. You less depend on the technologies to be imported. So you don't have to be import technologies. You are totally self-sufficient. I mean, you cannot be totally self-sufficient. You got to have a collaboration with not just across states, be across countries as well. But as far as possible and desirable, we need to have technologies in-house so that people don't have to extensively depend on foreign technologies. And this COVID-19, it makes us more exposed, and also it creates the challenges and opportunities in India, and we need to address that. And this could be done by multi-sectoral, multidimensional approach and technology frameworks. Now the governments are relentlessly, pursuing the world-class indigenous technologies, at least to make it to that extent. Now, coming back to how do we win, this slide is important for me at least, and I think I'd like to take a few minutes of your time here. The objective of this webinar, as you know, that we need to showcase the indigenous technologies of the state, highlight the cross-sectoral these technology, basically the potential for its upgradation. That's so crucial. Then how do we make it through S&T inputs? How do you make this technology sustainable, relevant, competitive towards building Atmanirbhar program? And towards this extent, I'll also say what is that we do in council, especially in association with the Indian Institute of Science and specifically Center for Sustainable Technologies. It's a part of Indian Institute of Science, and how are we making a difference from the past 4.5 decades, or it can close to 5 decades now. Now we identify, first of all, we need to identify all the technologies that are developed by our region. This is very much and foremost important. We are at it right now. And we need to select certain technologies which requires HNC inputs. Through SWOT analysis, you need to understand the each technology's strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we need to then present it to R&D institutions who are interested in working on these technologies, which were, I think we were very much successful in this because many institutions gave up and said that we would like to do better. And we also, through council, we associate with the Institute of Science, and basically we partner them in disseminating these technologies. R&D portion gets done in Institute of Science. And we facilitate in research and development, field testing, replication, developing prototype, and large-scale dissemination as well. Now, I think one important part is innovation. So I think we need to understand some of the technologies definitely requires S&T inputs to become more competitive at the present times. That's where the innovation comes up. So innovation, I think all of you know that innovation is, it could be a product service gets updated by applying new process technologies, and it creates a new value. That's more important. So council is, I'll briefly tell you about one or two technologies which we made a difference. Okay. One of it, CST IAC, that is Center for Sustainable Technologies, Indian Institute of Science. It was formerly called ASTRA. I think we have a long association with CST, I think since inception. And you could see that many technologies listed here, low embodied carbon building materials technologies, fuel efficient wood burning devices. I think we'll discuss two of them today, along with the appropriate improved sanitation technologies. Okay. So now, so we have under the low carbon alternate building technologies developed by Center of Sustainable Technology, and we have been associated with them since inception, as I told you. Our list of technologies being listed here. I think I'll just take one of them now today. That is compressed earth block. Okay, we call it as soil cement blocks. Was it there earlier? Yes, it was. From time immemorial that you might see that the mud blocks have been used for quite some time. It's more than 100 years now, and been used extensively in all the villages earlier. And okay. It was cheap and it was energy efficient, and that is the strength. What is the weakness? It has a low strength, especially wet strength is very much low, and it cannot go beyond ground floor, and it can carry only its dead weight to a certain extent, tile roof or a thatch roof, and it leads to during rains it's a problem because it erodes also. Now these are some of the weaknesses, and but there are strengths. So CST actually looked into this and found out that it needs technology inputs and SNT inputs. So what we did was take the same mud block and actually we stabilize it with cement or lime or fly ash and all these materials, which gave them a better strength, better resistance. So the research of 4 decades, starting from 80s onwards, okay, now we've been able to convert the traditional mud block into a potential game changer. That means to say that we have more than 20,000 plus buildings using these technologies. All of them is cement stabilized, and which is now an alternative. And it's still, the strength are still there. Whatever the weaknesses were there, we overcame that using SNT inputs. And now it's a huge opportunity for it in terms of energy efficiency, in terms of its quality, in terms of its strength. So this is how you take up a indigenous technology and move forward and make it relevant and competitive in the present times. So I'll just show you a few pictures of that. Okay, this is how it was done. I mean, rural buildings, soil cement blocks, just plain mud blocks. It have a low strength and it could collapse because of the low weight strength. And now the same thing after stabilization. You can see Center for Sustainable Technology, that's IAC Jaggery campus, uh, have built the entire one block of CST extension center using the soil cement blocks and a lot of alternative and innovative technologies, which have taken from the technologies done earlier. And look at these buildings. Is it not beautiful? It's really beautiful. We have more than 20,000 plus structures of these, which is spread over across Bangalore. Okay. Now there are some uh, information about the machines. We'll not get into that because our only interest today is, okay, there is some technologies which is indigenous to us. That is, it's used in the past and it has certain advantages, certain strengths, certain disadvantages. So our interest only here is how do you make it, whatever the disadvantage, what are the weaknesses that you, through SNT inputs, how do you make it, disadvantage go away, and all of thing becomes currently competitive. So this we largely got it done. This is some of the slides, and just to inform you, they are more energy efficient, 70% savings in energy burning when compared to the burnt clay bricks, and it's quite economical because it at least saves you about 20%. And the external internal plastering is totally eliminated, and large scale employment generation and better block finish and replacing. So when I say Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is done here with our traditional technologies, indigenous technologies, and we are moving forward. This are some of the few snaps. So we have used different types of blocks, different types of motors, different type of cavity cooled roofs as well. Okay, and we are actually using now industrial mine mining waste and also uh, construction and demolition waste as well. And we have constructed few buildings in KSCST itself, and in fact, we are living in those buildings. And we also have some of the appropriate sanitation technologies built using these materials. Okay, these are some of the pictures of walls and domes now. Now, I think all of you know about the traditional wood burning stoves, right? Especially all of you from 70s, 80s until 2000, most of the villages used to have wood burning stoves. And the traditional wood burning stoves, the only disadvantage is that's a very poor thermal efficiency. That's less than 15%. So the institute faculty and the KSCST got associated with them, and I mean, it was from 15%, it went to up to 44%. So energy efficiency went much higher. And there were two issues. One is low thermal efficiency, that is a weakness. Second thing is there's too much smoke inside the kitchen. These two was very well avoided by conduction, convection, radiation process. So these are the three things that we did, and the high acceptance rate. But because right now people are getting into more of a gas stoves. So, but I think in the 80s and 90s, more than 2 million stoves were built, and this is one of the biggest achievement from CST, that is making still wood burning stoves relevant. And these are some of the numbers that's been given here, right? So it is close to so our 15.6 lakhs, and basically I think more of it is cooking stars, and there are large number also. Recently we are doing large work on large stars, blast stars, and agro product trials and agro processing units and all that. And this is from Astra stove, wood burning stove, or since formerly it was Astra, that is application of science and technology for rural areas. CST was earlier called Astra, so now it was actually uh, the name was given as Astra Ole. Ole means stove. So now you can see that from this we developed also bio dryers. Okay, and this is being used in one of our project for drying fruits and vegetables in order to address malnutrition. So we are making a fortified food. This will be, I think the project is already underway. Uh, I think all of you know that a lot of fruits and vegetables gets wasted because sometimes you get excess, sometimes the rates go sky high because the fruits and vegetables coming to the market becomes very less. So now the question is, when we have a glut of fruits and vegetables, you dry them and keep it, and you fortify it, looking into the requirements for the adults and young children, and make it in a powder form or a liquid form or in a cake form, and it's given as a nutritious food. What we call is also fortified food, and this is the effort of CST and KSCST, almost close to 4 decades, which is made as possible to make this bio dryers to specifically dry the fruits and vegetables. And see, my colleague also, my former colleague also, I think all of you know that. I think from time immemorial, we used to harvest rainwater. It could be for agriculture purpose, it could be used for drinking purpose. I think largely in the earlier days, most of the water gets stored in kalyanis or minor irrigation tanks or ponds or lakes. And later on, we started building big dams and reservoirs. This is all, most of it is meant for agriculture, and some of it also meant for drinking water purpose. But now in urban areas, we same concept was done differently, and the same concept was used for how to catch rain in your own house. That is, whatever the rainwater that falls on your roof, you capture it and use it for drinking purpose, or else it could be used for subsurface research. So these are the two things we did. This is just a few snaps of KSST wherein how we make the technologies which have been used quite some time. How do you apply S&T inputs to them, and how do you make current relevant and applicable in today's times? This is what is all about Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is, you need to have products and services developed in-house so that it builds large-scale employment, it builds skills, and you don't have to, it cuts down the import cost. And we'll have a good number of speakers today who's going to speak you on different subjects, basically health, education, and horticulture and apiculture as well. And some of them will be speaking on rural technologies. And I think this is a wonderful time. I wish that many institutions who are participating today, we will publish a list of indigenous technologies, and those who are interested can get touch with us so that we can continue our R&D on this. And with the proper S&D inputs, I think we can make those technologies mainstreaming. So when I say traditional technology, also it has to be mainstreamed because it has to have a lot of S&D inputs, the growing times of scientific documentation. And I'll stop at this point. I request my colleagues to invite the next speaker, and I hope will come up with a white paper on indigenous technology. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. Before inviting a small announcement for the participants, so your participants will be getting a e-certificate. Hereby, you are requested to participating throughout the session. So if anybody leaves for the first session, certificates will not be provided. The link for downloading the certificate will be posted in the chat box at the end of the session. So today with us, we have our eminent personality, Professor Yam Vasundhara Madam. She was a head in Horticulture Department, University of Agriculture, SIS, Bengaluru. She is responsible for establishing and carrying out research on medicinal and aromatic plants crop for more than 3.5 decades in production, crop improvement, developing POP, organic cultivation, value addition, and quality analysis. She has guided 27 post-graduation students 6 doctorate students, published more than 150 research papers, 50 scientific articles, and 49 books. She is a well known speaker throughout the world. She is a recipient of Meritorious Science by EOEI and a Distinguished Women Scientist from University of Agricultural Sciences Alumni Association and Nata Sarvabhauma Rajkumar Sanmana Samiti, the Best Agriculture Research. With this, I request Professor Vasundhara Madam to take over the session on indigenous technologies in medicinal plants for human health. Madam, you're on mute, madam. Kindly unmute, madam.
Hello, can you hear me?
You're audible now, madam.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hemanth Kumar, and good morning to everybody for giving me an opportunity at sharing my experiences about the indigenous technologies that we came across, and we were able to utilize them to popularize some of the technology. And just before my lecture started, Dr. Hemanth Kumar was talking about the bio dryers and several other equipments, out of which we did use the bio dryers, especially for medicinal and aromatic crops, though it was developed for fruits and vegetables. And I was also collaborating with the fruits and vegetable drying with Dr. Venkatram Reddy. We did conduct several experiments with some of the fruits and vegetables, even coconut drying, etc. But the bio dryer was mainly used, and it was modified and adopted for drying patchouli leaves, an aromatic crop which has a very high potential in the international aromatic industry. It is an essential oil which is used in perfumery for the base note. It has a very special woody note. So that was my association. And later on, I think I came across Dr. Lokras, one of the eminent scientists of IISC. And when we happened to meet, and while we were discussing about the problem that we faced in distilling the oils, you know that the aromatic crops need to be distilled. There are several methods of extraction which is followed in India from time immemorial. If I would like to make a mention of it, our own Sandalwood soap factory has been doing it since 1916. Sir M. Vishweshwaraya was a person who, on the behest of the then Maharaja of Mysore, Krishnadevaraya Vadayar IV, was asked to make sandalwood sandal soaps. The reason was that during the World War I, the export of sandalwood was not possible. So the Maharaja requested Sir M.V. to get somebody trained in that art of making soaps. And Dr. Vishweshwaraya was instrumental in getting a scientist from IISC to get trained in this art of making soaps. And today, even after 100 years, sandal soaps are cherished in every household in Karnataka, and not only in Karnataka, all over the world, because it's a signature compound that sandalwood is known for besides its cosmetic purpose. It is highly medicinal, and who would not say that it is being used in even our households. It improves the memory power, the concentration. These are some of the other important medicinal properties. It has the wound healing property. So today also we have several products made out of sandalwood. That means a single tree can become a technology. It can promote technology. That's what I meant to say. Um, Along with the steam distillation units that we have in Sandalwood factory, Sir MV's own village, Muddenhalli, just nearby, we have another cluster of a small village, Kodi Manchenhalli, which is known for Davanam. Even today, the villagers, they themselves distill the davana oil along with lemongrass, citronella, rosemary, patchouli, and these oils are now known all over the world for their unadulterated quality and purity. When we were discussing all this with Dr. Lokras, he said they have installed one unit at Ungura, around 70-80 kilometers from Bangalore, and there was not much scope for distillation. And when he saw the work that was conducted at GKVK about the medicinal and aromatic crops, he said that he would be happy to uninstall from there and put it up for us in the GKVK campus. I was overwhelmed and then welcomed that idea, and even till today, it's working. What he did was he brought that whole equipment, a steam distillation unit, to the university. It is a unit with a 200 kilo capacity. We earlier had a 1,000 kilo capacity steam distillation unit, but which did not work as much as we expected it to be. But this particular unit was energy efficient. He even measured the input of water, the steam output, and then how efficiently it worked. Even the wood that was used was measured, and I'm sure this made the aroma extraction a very simple process for us, and we could popularize the steam distillation in not only Karnataka, even from outside Karnataka, people would come and get trained. And this is how just one technology could touch many people in aromatic industry. And there are several of them now, right now, who have established their own units. If I remember correctly, then Vijay Kumar was there from Vijiram. Then Benson's, they have established their own unit. Besides several other aromatic plant dealers and then aroma oil manufacturers, they are all using this simple technology. Though we do not have a huge solvent extraction unit, we hope IASC or the Astra will be able to come out with some good innovation for making the medicinal plant extraction much easier. As of now, only huge industries are using it, and small Ayurveda doctors or others who are into, they depend on a simple drying, dehydration, grinding, making into powder or tinctures, lepanas, etc. in the traditional method, which needs to be certified, because once the product is prepared, a powder is made, we need to know the active principle that is contained in that particular medicinal plant or the material that is prepared out of the plant. Therefore, we need innovations in that direction. Even today, you see the sandalwood, which gives the oil, is used in several other products. It's not only the soap. Earlier, we had a particular silver soap holder, which was exclusively meant for sandal soap, and that was a luxury item. And life boys were the common soaps that were used in Karnataka and other states also. But sandalwood has a special place, and today they have diversified into more than 150 products, starting from mop cleaners to hand wash and aerosols, agarbattis, etc. So what I mean to say is, a single plant has become one industry. Similarly, I would like to bring to your notice that vetiver is another industry which is grown in Karnataka near Kundapur, and the steam distillation unit is happening even today. Kundapur and Bhatkal, these are the areas where vetiver cultivation is happening. Similarly, we have several medicinal plants which can be used for extraction, several aromatic crops which can be used or which can be put up for demonstration or on a cluster basis, where it can become an easy accessibility to the rural people. I would also bring to your notice that uh, when it was installed in Ungra, the cultivation was not happening. So these kind of what I would say differences or it was not possible to cultivate the aromatic crops there, but the cultivation was happening in GKVK. So locating the area where the cultivation is and giving the proper indigenous technology to that area would also be ideal. If it is not in the same place, then it will not be of any use. Similarly, even in Jaggery extraction, Dr. Lokras helped us in making it much more efficient. Using the sugarcane bagasse, we could make better jaggeries. So these were some of the technologies, but we have several other plants that I would like to bring to your notice. That what do they contain that people want to cultivate? Especially the medicinal plants and aromatic plants are the sources of the secondary metabolites, which could be the phenols, the alkaloids, the terpenoids, which play an important role in many of the diseases that the human beings are going through. Especially he spoke about the COVID. Besides that, there are a lot of infectious diseases all over the world which have claimed till now around 17 million people. Therefore, it is much more dangerous than cancer or diabetes or HIV, etc. etc. There are many neurodegenerative diseases also which need to be looked into, which require simple extraction methods which could be certified, organically cultivated, and they are made available to the producers so that they can give us better medicine instead of the medicine becoming a toxin. We would be better off with better health care. That's what I feel. So, other than this, we have also heard of mythical herbs. What do we mean by these mythical herbs? These are some of the herbs that you and I keep talking about, the Sanjeevani herbs. In Uttarakhand alone, around 964 medicinal plants have been documented, and 520 of them have been investigated, and around 112 had remarkable medicinal properties. Are they cultivated? Are they propagated further? Have they made it available to the common man to cultivate it? Or is it that the other plants which have not been screened do not contain any medicinal property? So we need to go through several of the indigenously available traditional knowledge to know whether these plants have certain properties. And there is no plant that does not have any medicinal property, and we need to take it on a proper forum to see that these plants are put into use. Now, under the Atmanirbhar scheme, more than 3,000 plants which are used for their essential oils, and over 300 of them are commercially used as flavor and fragrance. Therefore, the government of India has come up with a list of 9,000 ingredients which are generally used and they are considered as safe. They are all documented and they are available for reference to the industry. Otherwise, what happens is you come up with certain perfumes or perfumery material, and if it is banned and if the person is not aware, especially the manufacturing industries, then it is not possible to export these aroma chemicals or the perfumes or the medicinal drugs or the chemicals that are available. So, in this regard, several of the companies, if I may mention some of them, Himalaya drugs, they started with one single herb, Philanthus, which is today known as a liver tonic, which can boost the health of the liver. That is in one plant. Then we have Safed Masli. It is again an indigenous technology. The farmer or the producer was a scientist himself, and he has streamlined the cultivation, the extraction procedure, as well as preparing medicine out of this particular plant. Similarly, we have Amla and then many of the Ananaceae family. You must have heard about the Noni plant, which again is an entrepreneurship which was awarded the Prime Minister's award for being the best entrepreneur. So there are several plants. Each plant, each part of a plant is an indigenous technology for me. And if they could be utilized in the right perspective, then there's nothing like that for India. And we are second in export to China. We are exporting several of these medicinal and aromatic products to other countries. And from time immemorial, we have been doing it. Many aromatic oils like champa, jasmine, these were exported, but we do not have the proper cultivation at all. So, what is ailing this industry is even today, we depend on the forest for picking up the herbs. We do not have a proper botanical identity. Therefore, we do not know whether they are the right raw material that has been used. Some of the medicine that you see lists more than 80 to 100 components, but are they really from the plant natural product? Because you do not see them in cultivation at all. Hardly 39 species are under cultivation, and therefore we need to bring more and more under cultivation. What happens when you collect it from a forest is it may have the active principle or it may not have. There can be variation in nature, but when it is cultivated, definitely that variation can be minimized. There are lot many varieties that are available in this sector, medicinal and aromatic plants, which suit all kind of the agroclimatic zones of our country. We can think of making clusters. Now, under this Atmanirbhar, I think we already have the aroma parks developed, where the clusters of these particular plants which are locally cultivated are made, and then they can be made use of in human health. One fine example would be aloe vera, which is grown in Rajasthan now. It is a dryland crop, an arid crop, and now Patanjali is been utilizing these to their advantage. Truckloads of aloe vera leaves go to Uttarakhand or other places where they are made into aloe vera products. More than 150 products can be made out of aloe vera, which can be consumed for human health. Even anti-carcinogenic property is found in aloe vera. So the other problems are the availability of planting material, which needs to be taken up. Maybe as an indigenous technology, we may have to develop good poly houses which are good for our condition rather than the Western concept. And these can be made use of in a cluster approach so that the planting material is available. The medias could be standardized, and definitely this will help. And these crops also do not require any fertile soil, any kind of unfertile soil, or even very bad soil, barren lands can be utilized for cultivation. and they provide you with the secondary metabolites which can be utilized for extraction. So these were some of the thoughts I wanted to share with all of you. If there are any questions, I will be able to take. I don't know whether I have exceeded the time. The chairperson has to tell me.
Uh, Madam, there are no questions, madam. You have not exceeded the time and it's on time, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Dear participants, if you have any questions or any queries, you can post in the chat box so that madam try to. Oh, ma'am, we have some question by Professor Vijay Kumar S. Totat.
Please, sir.
Professor
Yes, sir.
Vijay Kumar, you can
Madam?
unmute yourself. Huh?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Happy morning, madam. Happy morning.
Good morning,
I'm
sir.
Vijay Kumar.
Tell me, sir.
Okay. Whether you are having any training sessions for aromatic and medicinal plants at your GKVK?
Certainly, sir. We have conducted hundreds of them. Now, since I'm retired, it keeps happening, and you may have to contact another head of the department, which you can send me details so that I will connect you.
No, whether it is free of cost or chargeable basis.
Free of cost. We do not charge, sir.
Okay.
We do not charge. And it will be 3 to 4 days, sometimes 6 days, 21 days, all kind of training programs happen here. We train the public.
Now, who is the opposite person that is a contact person at GKVK, madam?
Dr. K.N. Srinivasappa. Now he is my successor. He will be the person to contact. At the Department of Horticulture, UAS, Bangalore.
Okay. Because I belong to native of Wagalkot, that we are having university at our native place.
Yes.
So I'm very much interested.
Dr. Umesh was there in Bagalkot University. He was my colleague, and I think he was the person in medicinal and aromatic crops.
Okay. Thanks a lot, madam.
Thank you, sir.
for sharing your information.
Thank you, madam. So if any questions, you can keep in the text box. So due to shortage of time, we couldn't take up questions now. We will be posting the questions to madam through email, and you will be receiving the queries. Thank you, madam.
Once again, I thank Mr. Hemanth Kumar for giving me such opportunity. Thank you, Priyanka. Bye.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam. Very good talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. So participants, kindly mute your audios. We have our next speaker, Dr. Dronachari Manvi. He is an assistant professor in Department of Agriculture Engineering, University of Agriculture Sciences, Bengaluru. His area of expertise is food engineering, small-scale machineries, machinery development, and image processing. Due to some technical problem, we could wait for another 30 seconds for sir to join. He will be online in another 10 minutes. Meanwhile, madam is here still. So if anybody has question, you can raise your hand. So if one sir joins, we can take up sir's session. He is facing some technical issue. Nandini madam, are you here? Um Nandini madam?
Hello.
Madam?
I'm available.
Madam, we have some technical issue for Dronacharya sir to join. Is it okay? Can you take up the session now so that he will be taking the followed up?
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience that sir couldn't able to join now because he's facing some technical issue. So we have another speaker, Dr. Nandini Dolepat. She's a former consultant from FRL ST Bengaluru. So with this, I request Nandini madam to take over the session on indigenous technologies for health. Over to you, madam.
So I'm trying to share my
Yeah,
slides.
it's presenting, madam.
Yeah. Namaste. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me for this particular program. I'm really delighted to join this particular program and share some of my experiences. Can you see the slides?
Madam, it's of white background. We couldn't see any pictures or any writings. We can see only plain white screen.
Or is it? Just a moment.
Ma'am.
I will stop sharing and
Yeah, you can
share, share once again.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
Can you see now?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. It's visible now.
Okay. So just I share some of my experiences and my thought process with you people so that we don't have to think in terms of technologies means it is a great rocket technology or something related to atomic, theory or whatever it is. It can be as simple as growing some medicinal plant like tulsi at home, which is quite useful for healing cough, cold related problems, or even toothache. So these are we consider generally as home remedies and not much science involved with that. But if you consider our ancient history or the culture, how people lived, we will come across several instances where people have developed their life system with the biodiversity elements like plants, animals, whatever soil conditions available. Based on that, they have developed the cultural practices. They learned how sustainably they can live in harmony with the environment. So very recently, when I was traveling to Bihar, I found this particular board signage on the roadside which talks about Jivak Amaravan. So, as the history says, Jivak was considered as one of the, the doctor, the practitioner of medicine at that particular point of time as a king of doctors. So here you can see on the right hand side some ruined, place where it shows Jivak had his hospital or treatment center. It is very near to Rajgir today. So Jivak mentioned an early Buddhist text as the one of the best healers or the doctor who treated Buddha and also Bimbisara. So he started with the monastery also, and there is a great garden, orchard. They say, especially it was, mango garden, where it was later given by Jivak to Bimbisara. So he treated and many people, and also he did different kinds of surgeries to treat the people, especially those days. You know that people were suffering from wars and such other kind of thing. There were a lot of blood was lost, and wounds they developed over the period. So and this physical, psychological trauma, whatever they had, it was very well treated, and he was one of the finest doctors of that time. In that various as systems of healing like Siddha, Unani, Ayurveda, these are all traditional systems of healing in this country. So where they get the resources, how to prepare the formulations, the ingredients. If you consider something like the zodiac sign garden, like Rashivana we have, right? Nakshatravana, Navagrahavana. So like this, if you consider this system of tradition, which all emphasize on the protection of these trees, plants, the biological resources. So in traditional system of medicine, it is a formulation. It may be in the form of something like rasayana, churna, right, or even the tablets. So we need different ingredients, and from plants resources, maybe from kinds of metals and elements. So this formulation we need to get from the nearby resources. So every village that point of time earlier, they had their own ethno medicinal gardens, and even the kings in their courts, they have their own orchard, because the very essence of having the garden, even today we have in Bangalore Palace Orchard, but we don't find any orchard now. It is only buildings. But earlier it was providing whatever the everyday requirement they need, either in terms of food or in terms of medicine, they were getting from their orchard. So that was the essence of having the garden. And even we had a backyard garden or something, but today we don't have that. So very recently, when I was traveling to Coimbatore, I found this very interesting place where one of my young friends, she is practicing naturopathy, and she took me to her clinic and showed this banana leaf bath, which I never heard of earlier. You may know, some of you may know. And some kind of treatment setup she has kept, where it many major problems like rheumatoid arthritis or insomnia, obesity, so hypertension, breathing disorders, menstrual problems. So these different kinds of problems can be treated very easily in a very natural way, not injecting or pricking or giving some kind of extraordinary medication or treatment. So we have a lot of knowledge in this country. So to avoid any kind of piracy, because you must have heard about how piracy happened in terms of turmeric or the peppers, which all happened earlier. But to avoid all such things, Government of India has come up with a database called Traditional Knowledge and Digital Library. Here, a lot of information from the text of Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Yoga. So all these are translated to mainstream language, and then it is digitized. So if you want to search something about any plant or any ingredient or any particular system of medicine, you will find all the related information in this particular database. So you can access this through your fingertips. Next, there is another portal called PGR portal. Here also, regarding the cultivated plants, you can check where it is available, what it is available. Even it explains up to the extent of the nucleotide sequence, gene sequence, whatever. So you will get a lot of information through these websites and apps in the respective portals. So earlier, many of our problems, they were treated by our grandmother, whoever elderly people at home. So each part of the body can be treated with one or another plant, right? If there is a stomach ache, if there is a headache, or if there is a body pain, some kind of like vomiting sensation. So any of these symptoms can be treated. These are called primary healthcare condition that was very well treated at household level. Here you can see a wall painting on the right hand side. In one of the villages of Chhattisgarh, I could find where the healers, even today, there are very good healers, and to tell the importance of these healing practices, the picture was depicted on the school compound. So when I was traveling to Arunachal Pradesh, I found the local healers, and today they were able to make a list of plants, whatever is available in their garden, because of some of the efforts by the United Nations Development Program and the State Medicinal Plant Board efforts. So they are able to think that yes, we have to transfer this knowledge to our youngsters, because earlier it was just one of the family traditions that they were carrying on, but today's children are going to schools and colleges, they are ignoring the nature around them and ignoring the lifestyle practices. So it is necessary to make them understand, to document all this knowledge, and to make them understand, the youngsters, the importance of these plants and resources. So this is like when I was traveling to Chhattisgarh, I found like many good healers around that area. Throughout the state, they were trying to use stethoscopes, read these laboratory reports, and based on that also they can diagnose the problems with the local people, because hospitals are quite far there, very very far, they cannot go, and they are maintaining very good record system. You can see the ledger kind of book is kept on the table. So he will record which patient came and with what problems and what medicine was given and how many doses of that particular medicine was given, how he is treated, and they have come up with a concept of the really our made in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So whatever the resources available, they have come up with a manufacturing unit. You can see the bottles on the backside. So and it is already that they have a proper labeling system, trademark they are acquiring, and they are supplying to local requirement. In the pharmacy it is available in the name of Sanjeevani Pharmacy. And these are some of the pictures I have taken when I traveled to Uttarakhand, as madam was mentioning earlier. So there are very good healers, and they have a lot of knowledge about the plants and other resources available in that local area, and there's a very good database system they are developing. And these are some of the pictures from Kashi Hills, Meghalaya, where the tribal healers, they're providing, even today they are providing very good support to the local people. And today, living in urban area, if you think we don't have place, can we have something like home garden in our terrace or in whatever place available to us? Can we go for an institutional garden? Here you can see a garden at a school, and here you can see a apartment complex where they have planted all medicinal plants for their gardening landscaping. So is there any possibility can we develop a knowledge system with the resources available around us? And if you want to learn more about you can log on to this National Biodiversity Authority website, and also you can, if you think there is a possibility to understand and then go for intellectual property rights, there are a lot of information resources. If you can click on, you will find a lot of resources. So finally, when you think the immune system and the health, it is generally there are infections which can happen. That is one possibility, how we fall sick. Then there can be some accidents, wounds which can happen. So finally, it is the whole body's system that should be equipped enough to fight against any kind of adverse conditions which is imposed time and again by nature. Either it can be infection, or it can be something wounds or anything, or even psychological, physical. So all these things are interrelated. So if we can have our own garden, it will give proper physical exercise to us, like digging the soil, or something, watering the plants, cutting and pruning the plants. So all these provide the physical activity, and it will provide a lot of enthusiasm in a person, and also the people living at home. So we can grow some plants and prepare our own dishes, juices, whatever. And if we consider even the mandates of national and international biological diversity, only when you talk about some kind of economic benefit to the people will think about the conserving. Otherwise, if there is no benefit, people don't think about conservation. So recently, when this in Tripura, I found one very good example when we got registered this pineapple, Tripura pineapple. So they got international market for their produce. So they are exporting it to Dubai, and we were giving training for ladies. So this is not a major technology, but these are some of the simple techniques which can be adapted. And really, our villagers, they're happy to participate, and they learn about how to make some kinds of oil, some kinds of syrups for everyday use. And you can see that this person, he has branded his goods today, because now trend is towards more of organic, naturally grown, all this. So this locust person, he has branded his locally grown millets, and he's trying to get some kind of a financial benefit for his personal benefit, and also for his community. And when we talk about all these different kinds of arts and other things, we need to conserve the nature. If we cannot conserve the nature, where we will get the raw material? For example, this Chanpatna toys, we need a proper raw material. That Raitia tinctoria, that is a tree, which is very much required. But nowadays, more and more importance is given to the land development, whatever. So we may not be able to get their proper resources. So if we can think of economic benefit, we have to think about the resource conservation. So unless we conserve the resource, we cannot think about economic benefit and sustainable livelihood for a long time. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't exceed the time.
No, madam. The time was perfect.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. May I stop sharing? If there is any question,
If there are any one or two questions, we can take up quickly.
Yeah, because I tried to speak very fast. I could not, keep showing too many different, avenues of either IPR or biodiversity.
Madam, I think no questions. So thank you so much, madam.
Thank you. Dhanyawad.
So we have our next speaker, Dr. Dronachari Yam. So Dronachari Yam, Professor in Department of Agriculture Sciences, University of Agriculture Sciences, Bengaluru. His area of expertise is food engineering, small-scale machinery development, and processing. So with this, I request Professor Dronachari sir to take over the session on indigenous practices and technology adoption in agriculture. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Okay, thank you to this Karnataka State Council Science and Technology for giving this opportunity. Madam, is it audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, my expertise here is regarding to processing and food engineering. Just I'm going to talk with respect to agricultural mechanization and what is the importance of agricultural mechanization in this indigenous technology, and later on what are the disciplines which are going to be followed in agri-engineering, and finally just I'm going to tell about what are the technologies which are readily available in our university. If some farmers or any entrepreneurs are willing to take up, they can have that technology and they can go with the custom hiring. Just a minute, I will share the screen. As you know, here mechanization in agriculture is takes a very important.
Sir, actually, your screen has not been shared, sir.
Is just we have to concentrate more on mechanization. Nowadays, as you know, here in India, 80% of the farmers belongs to small scale as well as medium scale farmers. Hello, ma'am, is it audible?
Sir, actually, we lost you for another 30 to 40 seconds, and your screen is not visible, sir.
Yeah, it's just a minute. Just start.
Yeah. Sir, is there any difficulties in hosting the screen, sir, or presenting the screen?
The screen is not going to be shared. It is not sharing. Yes, ma'am, in this where I have to go here?
Just click on the three icons.
For
More
screen sharing?
Yes, sir. You go to more options. Next to that, leave the call. You have that leave the call icon. So next to that, you have more option. If you click that, you will be getting an option.
Yeah.
Next to that, you have that arrow present now. To the left of that more option, you have a icon present now. You can use an entire screen or a window. If your file
settings, ma'am. Yeah.
Next to the settings, you have a icon, sir, like a small square with an arrow mark.
Okay.
If you click on that, you will be getting entire screen, a window, or a tab option. You just use entire screens. When you click your entire screen, you will be getting that files whichever tabs are open. So you can click your PPT and you give share.
Yes.
You got that option, sir?
Ma'am, is it visible?
No. Yes, sir. It's taking time. Maybe another 10 seconds. Yeah, it's presenting now.
Ma'am, slides are visible. Are you able to see the screen, ma'am?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen now.
Fine. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Majorly here, I'm going to cover majorly on mechanization and technology overview, as well as agri-engineering discipline and the technologies which developed from our university, especially in agriculture sector, horticulture, as well as the sericulture sector. Here, as you know, here mechanization, as I told, mechanization in agriculture is very important because it is going to be go for higher productivity. Majorly, it's going to reduce the drudgery and cost of cultivation. Here, whenever we're going to think on higher productivity, the thing is efficient machinery is required. Efficient machinery is required in order to complete that operation within the particular time. For that purpose, this mechanization takes a very important role. Here nowadays, just you can see here, this farm power availability per hectare, it will be around 1.84 kilowatt per hectare. Here, as a target, just by 2022, here the farm power availability should be increased to 4 kilowatt. The thing is just why mechanization is most important. Just I will give an example here. Traditionally, here intercultivation operation is normally done by manually. It means here the removal of weed in the field. Nowadays, earlier by manually it used to take around in order to complete 1 hectare area by one farmer is going to take around 300 to 400 man hours. It means approximately of about 10 to 15 hours. Nowadays, just we can observe with the improved machinery, just we are going to complete this 1 hectare area by using this advanced agricultural tools within 45 minutes to 1 hour. For the purpose, this farm mechanization takes a very important role. The next is just we are going to thinking on engineering inputs. Just we are going to talk about this application of drone in agriculture, as well as robotics, as well as artificial intelligence applications in agriculture. The thing is just we should have for that higher capacity and precision the farming will be done, and energy efficient equipment. But the thing is here, in case in our agriculture, most of the farmers are belongs to small and marginal. For them, it's very difficult for affordable these high equipments. For that purpose, just we have to concentrate more on custom hiring centers, especially for the agricultural machineries. Here, custom hiring center means here just we are going to provide the machineries on hiring basis to the small as well as for the marginal farmers. By that, all can use this high-end machines, especially in the agriculture. Here, the major mission for agriculture mechanization is just we have to strengthen as well as promote the agriculture mechanization through training, testing, as well as by demonstration or usage of high-end post-harvest technology machines, and mainly by establishing the farm machinery banks, especially for the custom hiring. And finally, here financial assistance for establishing the custom hiring centers to the local persons. As I told, India is about 84% people having less than 1 hectare. For them, it's very difficult to use high-end machines. For that purpose, just we are going to concentrate more on custom hiring centers. Here, just one example. Just I used to say here, India is leading producer of food grains with the output of about 305 million tons. Since from a decade here, just we have been increased in the food grain production from the 40 to 50 tons. The thing is, just we are producing, but whatever the grain has been produced, we are not going to be processed properly. It means here the post-harvest losses in India, it's around 12 to 16 million tons at a worth of around 50,000 crores per year. The thing is, India is producing a lot, but we are lacking in storing up of the proper products. Storage structures. For that purpose, you should think on how to store the harvested crop in a safer way. By that, it can be used for our future days. Here, majorly, just we are having 5 disciplines in case of agricultural engineering. One is majorly with the processing and food engineering. In this department, just we are going to talk about once the crop has been harvested. There we are going to take the crop and we are going to store it for the longer time using engineering techniques. And the second one is farm machinery and power engineering. Here, in this case, here whatever the machineries which are going to be come during the agriculture, start from here the seed sowing, land preparation to till harvesting. And third is about conservation of both the what are the techniques which are mainly used to conserve both soil as well as the water. And fourth one is regarding irrigation as drainage aspect. And finally, the major discipline is that is renewable energy. What are the applications of renewable energy in agriculture? Here, just I'm going to show some of the machineries which we have been developed in our university. Just you can see this is a tamarind dehuller. This machine is mainly used for dehulling up of the hulls, especially for the tamarind. Once the tamarind crop has been harvested, then the problem is going to become here what are the machines which are available mainly for the dehulling as well as for the desealing. By this machine, just we can easily dehull. Once the processed this tamarind will be having the higher market rather than the raw tamarind. Here, just you can see this machine is mainly used for dehulling of the tamarind. Just here the dehulling means just we are going to remove the outer shell of the tamarind. Here the capacity of this machine is around 800 to 1000 kg here. Here the efficiency of this machine will be around more than 90%. This machine is a tamarind deseeder. it is mainly the first machine just we have been seen, that is dehuller. This machine is tamarind deseeder. Once if you remove the hull, the tamarind consists of seeds. That seed just we have to remove. For that purpose, this machine just we are going to use once after dehulling as well as the deseeding. The tamarind will be having a very good market. This machine is mainly used for deseeding the tamarind. Here, these two machines are majorly used for the small as well as the marginal farmers, the person who are willing to start as an entrepreneur in case of tamarind processing. For them, it will be, these machines will be more suitable. The next one, just you can see this one, we are going to call as the Pongamia decorticator. Pongamia decorticator. Here you can see in the market here, the shelled Pongamia decorticator. It means the seeds of the Pongamia will be having the better market as compared to here this raw Pongamia. Because the seeds are majorly used for extracting the oil, for extraction of oil. The seed of 1 kg of Pongamia will be around 2 to 3% than that of the raw this Pongamia seed. Here, the capacity of this machine is going to vary from here 200 to 250 kg. Here, the efficiency of this machine will be around more than 90%. Approximately, the cost of this machine will be around 70,000. This machine is mainly suitable for the cottage industry purpose. Here, this machine is for dehulling of sunflower seeds. Here, this type of machine is mainly suitable for the bakery units as well as for the person who is going to start as an entrepreneur, especially for self-help groups as well as for small-scale agro-processing units. Here, the dehulling of sunflower is a difficult challenge. Here, with the help of this machine, we can dehull, we can separate the hull as well as seed mainly from this machine. Here, the capacity will be more than here 93%. 93%. The approximate cost will be around 18,900. This one, just you can see, this is small millets dehuller. Nowadays, just we have been observed here, the consumption of millets is higher. Here, the major problem is dehulling. Here, raw millets, it's very difficult to consume, as well as the milling is a very big challenge, because raw millets is, we are not going to be consumed here. Just we'll be going for milling up of it. Means just we are going to remove the outer layer of the this millet. It means just in Kannada we are going to call as akki here. The thing is, it's very difficult. In India, we don't have proper machines in order to dehull millets, especially for foxtail, little, kodo, as well as barnyard, as well as brown top. This machine just we can use and we can separate out the hull of the this millet. Here, the cost will be approximately around 1,20,000 here. The next machine, this is solar biogas energy dryer. It is a batch trap dryer. It is mainly used for drying up of the fruits and vegetables. Here, the specialty of this dryer is whenever the sun is available at that time, just we can take energy mainly from the solar. If not, if during the rainy days, at that time, we can dry the product with the help of here biomass. Just you can see, this is a multi-purpose solar tunnel dryer. Here, this solar dryer has been developed for the reelers, especially at the sericulture belt. The thing is, once the reelers remove the silk mainly from the cocoon, this inside the cocoon, the wet pupa will be there. The wet pupa having high moisture content, it's very difficult for drying during the normal atmospheric conditions, because it is having high moisture content, around 80% moisture content. Here, if you're going for drying with help of open sun drying, it takes around 20 to 24 hours. Here, this dryer has been designed at a capacity of around 60 kg. With the help of this dryer, just we are going to dry the silkworm pupa within 6 to 9 hours. It means the design of this dryer has been developed for the single reeler. It means a reeler is going to be processed of about 100 kg of cocoons. Out of 100 kg of cocoons is going to be get 60 kg of the wet pupa. That wet pupa can be dried here You can try it. After drying the wet silkworm pupa, the cost of 1 kg of wet pupa is going to be around 50 to 60 rupees. If you are going to sell it the fresh when the moisture content is 80%, at that time here the pupa 1 kg of pupa is going to be cost around 50 paise to 1 paise. By that, just we can process and we can sell the this wet silkworm pupa. Why it is so important means here this wet pupa having high the protein content as well as the fat content. Here once the pupa has been processed, and if we convert that wet pupa into powder, this 100 gram of wet pupa powder is going to be cost around 500 to 600 rupees. For that purpose, this drying up of this wet silkworm pupa is most important. Here in this picture, just you can see here, this is silkworm pupa pellets. Here once the pupa has been dried, that pupa normally just we are going to use as supplement for the livestock as well as for the poultry. Here this is instant mulberry tea powder. Mulberry tea powder. Here this one still under the research here. How we are going to consume coffee like that, the same we are going to consume this instant mulberry tea powder. It is rich in antioxidants and other components. Still in market, not yet released yet. Still the research is going on. What quantity of this tea powder just we have to consume. The next, as you can see, this machine is the most used one here, most demanded by the farmers here. This machine we are going to call as solar powered image clone system for bird scaring. Here nowadays, take example in case of sunflower crop. Here when the seeds they are going to come during fruit stage, at that time the parrots, the birds are going to become and it is going to be consume all the seeds. It means around 60 to 80% of the crop is going to get wasted if you didn't control. Here, this from our university, just we have been developed this machine. Here, this from home itself, just we can operate this machine. It is completely this solar operated. It means whenever the bird comes, at that time this machine is going to be give signal. Based upon that signal itself here, the birds is going to be scared and they are going to move mainly from the field. Here, this recently just we have been developed this machine here. It is a continuous type artificial intelligence interface processing system mainly for detection of maturity indices as well as post-harvest defects in mango. Here, the capacity of this machine is around 800 to 850 kg. This machine has been developed only at the farm level, where the mango farmers are going to be face problem whenever they are going to send export of mangoes. Here, the specialty of this machine is here. In industry, just you can see here, if you want to purchase this machine at the processing sectors, this in the food processing industries, at that cases, the cost of the machine is very high. Here, this machine, the cost will be around 50 to 55,000. This machine has been designed only for the farmers at the farm level in order to detect the damages as well as the black spots in mango in order to get the higher price. And these are the some of the machines which are this available in our university, like this pepper machine for polishing up of this pepper, and these two machines majorly here, the flour mill as well as the dal mill. Like this machine is we can call as portable grain winnower. The main purpose of this machine is nowadays just you can see at the roads the farmer will be going for winnowing operations. Then whenever the wind comes here, wind is going to blow the air. At that time they will be they are going to carry out this operation. Otherwise, it's very difficult for winnowing operation. For that purpose, just we have been developed one electrical operated winnower. With help of winnower, the continuously this farmers can undergo this operation. And these two are the mango as well as sapota harvesters. This one, just you can see, this is Arcanut de-esker. For small scale farmers, this type of machine is most usable. Here they are going to pour all the arcanut in this hopper, and at each side the farmers they are going to sit with the help of their foot. They are going to press here. By that the blades are going to get open. By that they are going to separate out the husk mainly from the arca nut. Next, this is most commonly used machine. We are going to call this as a 3-in-1 groundnut decorticator, come maize, come sunflower thresher. This is the small machine which the farmers can be used for their seed purpose whenever they will be going for crop like groundnut, sunflower, as well as for maize. At that time, they can use this type of thresher here, or we're going to call as a decorticator. From one operation, normally from here in this hopper, we are going to thresh the groundnut. Here at one side here, the sunflower, the other side, if sunflower is not required, just we can use this maize. When we are going to rotate this handle, at that cases, here normally the separation is being done. This you can see this is multi for opener here. This type of machine is mainly used for opening up of the furrows, either maybe seed purpose, or to apply of the fertilizer. This machine, this is most commonly used machine for all purpose, that is for all seeds. Here, this machine is mainly used for sowing up of the groundnut. Here, it is seed cum fertilizer drill. At a time, you can apply both seeds as well as the fertilizer. The capacity per day will be around 12 to 15 acres per day. For this, just you require a tractor. This is vegetable planter here. Nowadays, just you can observe whenever just we will be going for the planting, especially for the vegetables. It is very drudgeous work. The person has to be bent and he has to sow the seedling in the soil. It is the most drudgeous work. Or if you are going to use this type of machine, here the per day just you are going to cover around 10 acres per day. For this, just you require only a tractor for movement of this planter. These are most commonly used devices, that is hand weeders. As I told, in case if I gone with manual, it takes around 300 to 400 days in order to cover 1 hectare. Here, if you're going to use this type of long weeders here, it is going to finish within a 100 to 150 days. This machine is mainly used for for removal of the weeds. This machine we can use as the second tillage or mainly for the intercultural operations. This machine is mainly used for threshing up of maize, sorghum, sunflower, ragi, wheat. Based upon the crop here, the capacity is going to vary. In case of maize, consider the capacity will be around 30 to 40 quintals per hour. In case the sorghum, it will be around 6 to 8 quintals per hour. The last machine is, this is a machine just which is being developed from our students here. The machine just they have been taken mainly from the Excel, the engine they have been taken from TVS Excel engine. That engine just were being used for spraying operation as well as for the intercultural operations. In case the cost of this machine will be around 16 to 18,000. If this machine just if you want to take, if you're going for purchase in the market, means the cost will be around the 60 to 80,000 rupees. Lastly, here just we have been moving to here the digital innovation. Just we have to bring the digital thing to the farm level in order to increase the productivity. To increase productivity and productivity mainly, first of all, just we have to reduce the drudgery. As shows here, these are the machines are mainly used by the farmers at very low scale level. These machines are mainly preferable for small scale as well as medium scale farmers, and they can take this one as an entrepreneurship, because these machines are not available in the majorly at the lower cost in the market. They can purchase this type of machines from our university, and they can start as a customizing unit. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. So I think there are no questions. So as you said, a processing of agricultural goods to a product plays a very important role in strengthening indigenous technologies. And our students can have a possible collaboration, especially engineering students may have a possible collaboration with the University of Agriculture Sciences, where they enhance our technologies with special interest in protecting indigenous knowledge. So we thank you, sir, for having you with us.
Thank
So
you,
we
ma'am. Thank
have
you.
our next speaker, Professor KS Jagdish. Professor KS Jagdish is a head of apiculture department from University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore. He is a gold medalist in Master Science. His area of interest are bee pollinators, pelinoculture, pest management with special emphasis on biological control of crop pests, IPM and bee toxicology. He has more than 453 publication which includes research paper, journals, seminars, books, article, manuals and proceedings. He is an active participant in Krishi Mela, agriculture related programs broadcast in TV and radio, demonstration and exhibitions. He is a chairman of a advisory committee for 15 post graduation and 8 doctoral projects and advisory committee member for 60 post graduation and 32 doctoral projects. So with this brief introduction, I wish to welcome Professor KS Jagdish sir to take up a talk on indigenous technical knowledge in beekeeping. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. But screen was visible till now and it became black all of a sudden.
Yeah, I will share it in a few seconds.
Yes, sir.
So is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay. So good morning to all of you. So I am Dr. KS Jagdish. I will be presenting the concepts of indigenous technical knowledge in beekeeping. So first of all, I wish to thank Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology for giving me an opportunity to share our research findings from the University of Agricultural Sciences. And I also thank my parent organization, UAS Bangalore, for giving me an opportunity. So beekeeping is a vibrant sector, and beekeeping has got immense potentiality for enhancing crop productivity and through crop pollination. So more than 30 to 35% are totally dependent on bee pollination for enhancing their output and productivity. And it is not only the bee pollination, bees also yield different types of products like wax, honey, and of course bee venom, and a wide range of products. And whatever you are seeing on the screen are wax based products. It is a cottage industry in neighboring state of Tamil Nadu, wherein they manufacture the wax based products for marketing. So I think I need not have to spend much time on definition of ITK. So it is actually a tradition-based knowledge which reflects the experiences of the population of the.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
madam.
your slides are not moving.
Slides are not moving, huh?
Yes, sir.
Now, madam.
No, sir.
Slide more, madam.
Make it as a full screen, sir.
It is full screen.
You share also, sir.
Now the slide has not moved, madam.
No, sir. It is not showing. It is stop showing, sir. Sir, represent the slide, sir.
Madam.
Can you please represent the slide?
Yeah. Can you see the slides now?
No, sir.
Just a minute. Minimize it. Now is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is loading. We can see the black screen, sir.
Can the are the slides visible now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
Make it as a full screen, sir.
If we do full screen, it will not be visible again. Same problem.
It's okay, sir. Then go to the next slide, sir.
Now I made full screen. I will shift.
Okay.
Now is it visible? Second slide.
No, sir, it is in the first slide itself.
Okay. If we minimize, it is visible. If we magnify, it is not visible, madam. That is the problem.
Sir, please share the entire screen, sir. Don't select only the PowerPoint.
Sir, otherwise you share the entire screen instead of sharing the only a present window for sharing. Present entire screen.
Yeah, the entire screen. Okay.
Yes, sir, we can able to see your screen. Go to PPT, sir.
Can you see the PPT, madam?
We can see your screen, not PPT. Open the PPT, sir.
What about now? PPT is visible?
Yes, sir, PPT is visible. Go to the next slide, sir. Click on the second slide.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now they have gone to the third slide. Is it visible, madam?
Yes, sir, introduction slide is visible.
Yeah. Okay. So actually ITK is a traditional knowledge which is passed on from generation to generation, but unfortunately in a vast country like India, most of the traditional knowledge is passed on in an informal manner, so they have not been documented, and it is based on local level decisions, and of course it is optimum utilization of natural and other biological resources, and it is gaining popularity because the agricultural input costs are increasing tremendously, and farmers are entering into debt traps and credit traps, so they are forced to use the locally available resources to the optimum extent. And in this context, policymakers also are now looking at the traditional knowledge. And I remember a slogan that think globally, act locally. I think that suits well for today's theme of the webinar. And of course, farmers, of course, they are also using their various platforms and knowledge exchange media. But sometimes the preserving the information like ITKs in situ or ex situ has to be emphasized. And of course, I don't want to waste much time in defining and redefining ITKs. So coming to my subject, so substantial research on beekeeping has been done in India so far, but there is a lacuna in ITKs or indigenous technical knowledge in beekeeping, though it has been generated in several districts of our state and in our country, especially with regard to the pest and disease management in beekeeping, seasonal management of bee colonies, sustainable honey harvest techniques, then rearing of stingless bees, which is often called as meliponiculture, then usage of honey for various traditional medicines. So that is also one important arena because the stingless bee honey has got anti-cancer and anti-tumor properties, and of course these are all documented in informal manner. So in fact I will just keep this slide and I will just go to the actual topic of today's which has been allotted to me. So we tried to document the indigenous technical knowledge in beekeeping, and National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, NABARD, has come forward to finance a project in this direction. So NABARD was kind enough to fund a project entitled Documentation of Existing Indigenous Technical Knowledge and Success Stories in Beekeeping for Enhancing Livelihood Security of Farmer Beekeepers of Karnataka. That was the topic given to the funding agency, and they approved it. They were kind enough to approve this. And so since 1 year, we are trying to fulfill these objectives, that is identifying and documenting the existing ITK in beekeeping, and to bring out comprehensive publications and video documentaries on traditional knowledge and success stories in beekeeping based on questionnaires through which our research fellows had last 1 year. They have, in spite of 2 lockdowns of Corona, they had traversed through the states in the selected 10 districts, and through questionnaires they are able to document many beekeeping techniques which are indigenous. And dissemination of these ITKs through organizing conferences, trainings and workshops. This also we could do. So far we have organized 2 trainings and one online webinar to disseminate this knowledge. So coming to the findings of that project, which suits the today's topic of discussion. So our research team could document totally 23 indigenous technical knowledge in beekeeping, and the 23 were pertinent to, among the 23, 6 were pertaining to pest management in beekeeping, 4 were pertinent to disease management in beekeeping, 4 regarding sustainable honey harvest, 3 regarding meliponiculture, that is stingless bee colony culture or management, then 5 regarding medicinal uses of honey, 1 was regarding the remedy for bee sting. So totally 23 indigenous techniques in beekeeping were documented by our research team. So I will just quickly go through the indigenous techniques which have been mastered by our beekeepers, and this is all informal science, but only thing NABARD and UAS Bangalore were kind enough to provide us a platform to document these findings. And the placing of beehive boxes on the rooftops, that is practiced by some of the beekeepers to protect against vertebrate pests like rats and squirrels. Then adoption of a water trap that is made out of used mineral water bottles, which contained fermented honey solution so that it could attract wasps. And I think many of you may be aware that wasps are serious predators on honeybees. So they will catch the worker bees in the mid-air and gobble on the worker bees. And so this is one of the techniques documented by our research team. Then using wild tobacco leaves, about 200 grams of leaves per hive were used to repel yellow-banded wasp from Apis cerana colonies. You know, the tobacco will have that intense odor or a strong odor, and the tobacco leaves were discouraging against the yellow-banded wasp. Similarly, placing thorny bushes in the entrance of the hive also was discouraging the wasps from directly entering into the honeybee colonies and hinder their movement. Then dusting of ash near the hive stands, plastering the hive stand with mud, finding and killing the ant. You know, ants are another serious menace in the bee colonies or in the apiaries. Ants are very fond of the honey, and they will attack the colonies and start feeding on the different parts of the hive, including the larvae and immature stages of the bee colony. And so protection against ants was derived by dusting ash on the nearer to the hive stand. Then of course controlling the wax moth, especially the bottom board, which is one of the major part of the beehive. So here instead of using jointed wooden pieces, using a single wooden piece was followed in some parts of the state by the beekeepers, and also giving a smoke near the bee colonies whenever the colonies are weak and more susceptible to the wax moth attack. So these are some of the indigenous techniques which our research team could document. Then coming to the indigenous technical knowledge for sustainable honey harvest in beekeeping. So wherever, when we talk about a state like Karnataka, so many of the Malnad areas receive heavy rain, and in such heavy rainfall tracts, the beekeepers used to place the beehive boxes on the rooftop and also they were also placing heavy roof tiles on the top of the hive box to protect the bee colonies from the solar radiation and also impact of heavy rainfall. And usually they also have a practice of tilting the bee colony slightly so that the rainfall impact is minimized. So why I am stressing on this point, which may sound very preliminary, because the rain water, if it enters into the bee colonies, it will enter into the bottom board area, and if it stagnates in the colony, it will be facilitating the buildup of the different pests, and also the facilitate the pathogens against the bees. Then providing sugar syrup, placing the sugar syrup in the hive boxes rather than placing it near the hive entrance, so that the bottom board remains cleaner, and also it will not attract the pests and diseases. As already I have told you that the ants and wasps are serious pests of the honeybees. So again, using non-conducing harvesting of the honey from Apis dorsata, non-destructive, I think there is a spelling error, it is non-destructive harvesting technique of honey from rock bee colony, that is Apis dorsata colony, without harming the bees, so that only the honey filled area of the comb will be cut off. And in fact, and our former HOD, Dr. N.S. Bhatt, who is very much in the department today, he had already mastered a technique of sustainable honey harvest from Apis dorsata colonies. Almost 5-6 years back, he had a National Agriculture Innovative Project. It was a multidisciplinary project, and there also they have mastered the technique of sustainable harvesting of honey in rock bee colonies. And it really pains me to tell all of you that urbanites, urban people, especially Bangaloreans, whenever they find a dorsata colony near their multi-storied apartments or multi-storied buildings, they immediately request the pest control agencies to destroy the colonies, which is really a pathetic situation, because if we are destroying the Apis dorsata colonies, we are killing the pollinators who are the mainstay of Indian agriculture and horticulture. So I again repeat that better, if there are any problems with Apis dorsata colonies, combs, kindly inform our UAS Bangalore. We are very much here to remove the colonies without harming the bees. So we have a sustainable technique. And again, in Malnad areas, many of the beekeepers want to cut down the costs of the beekeeping, especially the Indian bee Apis cerana, and there they used the discarded aluminum tin cans or old mud pots, and they were smeared with wax or honey, so that it will attract the honeybee colonies, and they can sustain the bee colonies even in such containers. It is a traditional method of beekeeping, and it is a low cost technique. Again, coming to stingless bee culture, which is called meliponiculture. So that is again an offshoot of apiculture or beekeeping. So the stingless bees, as I mentioned, it is having a colony of very small structure and very small size, and they are generally found in most of the habitats, and wherever the space is a constraint, they make colonies, and they don't have compact combs like Apis cerana or Apis dorsata. They have got scattered, their brood is scattered, their immature stages are scattered, honey pots are there, there are pollen pots, and that is the art and science of beekeeping with stingless bees is called meliponiculture. And here the honey, pollen, resin, and they provide a lot of ecological services including pollination. And they are generalists as far as floral visitation is concerned, and they exhibit a behavioral trait which is called as floral constancy. So they are very dedicated, and if they go to a patch of a particular flowers, they keep on visiting the same flower until that flower source is totally exhausted of the nectar and pollen. And it makes a very efficient pollinator, though the bee is a very tiny insect. And these stingless bees are naturally long-lived, and they lack functional sting, and they are of course very suitable for urban and peri-urban beekeeping. And of course they make immense work as pollinators, though their size is very small. And of course the stingless bee honey has got antibiotic properties, and it, of course, it has got immense medicinal uses also. And coming to IT case, so today's topic for which I am supposed to talk, the empty coconut shells are being used in most of the Malnad and hilly areas of Karnataka and coastal districts of Karnataka. So 2 coconut shells, I will be showing you the photo shortly. 2 coconut shells can be just plastered with cellophane tape, and you can practice meliponiculture with 2 coconut shells. And it is a zero cost input for meliponiculture. Then bamboo poles can be split, wooden logs can be designed and fabricated, and it can be used as a zero cost input for meliponiculture. Then mud pots can also be used for rearing the stingless bee colonies. Then coming to the medicinal uses of honey, in fact, if you just refer our Ayurveda and homeopathy, the Indian and German system of medicine respectively, there is immense literature specifying or glorifying the medicinal properties of honey. And here, of course, because I am hurrying up, because I am just provided with 20 minutes, I don't want to encroach on the next speaker's time. So some of the beekeepers use honey along with the holy basil, that is tulsi and pepper, as a medicine for cough and common cold. This is practiced in most of the rural and coastal and Malnad areas of Karnataka. Then honey with coffee to reduce the stomach pain. This is, of course, whatever I am presenting is the feedback given through our questionnaire by the beekeepers. And some of the people use honey as a soothing agent to reduce the pain of burning injuries or burn injuries in the skin. Then honey along with ashwagandha is used to improve the male fertility and reduce blood pressure in human beings. Then honey along with tender coconut is used to reduce the stomach pain, constipation and digestive disorders. And of course, coming to the indigenous technical knowledge to combat pests and diseases in beekeeping. So beekeepers generally face a menace of thigh sac brood virus. It is a viral infection in the honeybees, which is very rampant in traditional beekeeping districts of Karnataka, especially Malnad and coastal districts of Karnataka. And there, this virus has to be managed, and you are aware that there are no antibiotics for viruses. Generally, here and there, we get some antiviral compounds, which most of the time they are not very, very effective. But farmers have designed or devised their own ITKs for this virus management in beekeeping. So it has come to our notice through the research project that they use turmeric 10 grams, tulsi handful of leaves, then tender coconut water from 1 tender coconut along with sugar syrup of 1 liter, and this is fed to the colonies. So turmeric, you know, has got immense antimicrobial and antiviral properties. So this is an ITK. And then use of Cynodon dactylon, which is a weed, grass. And I think if I am right, it is called Garike in Kannada. Cynodon dactylon, grass, 250 grams mixed with 1 liter of sugar syrup. It is fed to the bee colonies wherever they are suffering from TSBV. Then killing of TSBV infected queen bee, and providing healthy queens to the healthy colony so that the progeny or the next generation is going to be free from the virus. And another technique the farmers, the beekeepers use is the diseased queen will be kept enclosed in a cage, queen cage, which is a small device for about 3 weeks so that the disease subsides and she does not cross-infect other members of the colony. And it is something like isolation or quarantine within the bee colony. Okay. Then majority of the beekeepers provide a supplementary sugar syrup along with the turmeric powder 10 grams in 1 liter of sugar syrup as a prophylactic or preventive measure. Then coming to the other aspects of today's talk, pain reduction. Whenever bees sting us, so generally we panic. So the first thing, when a bee stings a person, we get panic, our pulse rates will vary, we get agonized, and often we try to get frightened, we feel that something is really going to happen, but that is not the case here. So if we are calm, many of the beekeepers have devised their own techniques to minimize the pain from the bee sting. So generally the techniques they have devised is rubbing the stung part with soil so that it will confuse the pheromone signal sent by the venom gland or the poison gland. So for the information of the newcomers to beekeeping, so whenever a bee stings us, nearly 10 to 15% of its body remains in our skin, because it will have a attached venom gland, and when we rub intensely on the stung area or on our skin, the pheromone message is emitted to the other members of the colony that it has to sting in more intense fashion or in an intense way towards the person who has been stung by the first bee. So rather than rubbing and getting agonized, so here the farmers are trying to confuse the bees by just placing some soil over the stung area or rubbing with locally available leaves on that affected area, or putting a small quantity of ash on our skin wherever the bee has stung us. So also washing the affected area with hot water, also they have found to reduce the pain and also confuse the bee from stinging in a more ferocious manner. Then applying coconut oil. So you know, coconut oil is available in plenty in coastal districts of our state and country. So mixing coconut oil with turmeric powder on the affected area, or rubbing tulsi leaf extract on the affected area. Okay. Then this is just a photo showing you the manner in which it can be followed. Then again, coming to the tribal areas of BRH.
Sir, sorry for interruption. Is
Yes,
it
madam.
okay to conclude in another 5 minutes, sir?
Definitely, madam. I think I will conclude in 5 minutes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So tribal beekeepers of Chamarajnagar, they are also traditional honey harvesters of wild bees, especially Apis dorsata, and it is a part of their daily diet. And they are also being trained in beekeeping by the horticulture department, and they have their own traditional methods, indigenous techniques, especially to keep away the wild boar, deer, and by placing the eye boxes on the rooftops, as I mentioned earlier. So this will provide some sort of protection against bigger predators and bigger pests. Okay, and placing tiles on the top of the hive boxes, you can see in the slide, it will protect the bee colonies against the rain. Okay, then for sustainable harvesting of honeybee, non-destructive method of honey harvest, as I told, they will just cut off only the honey-filled portion of the comb and retain the remaining part of the hive or the colony as such. Then, of course, mixing garlic or ginger extract with honey in equal proportion has been found to use as an antiviral remedy in parts of Hassan district. Then again, Tay-Sachs brood virus, as I told, here the queen can be managed to prevent the spread of the virus along with the towards the other workers, as I mentioned earlier. Then these are providing supplementary sugar syrup with tulsi leaf extract to minimize the TSBV virus infection in bee colonies. Then of course, minimizing pesticidal hazards. The beekeepers have derived their own methods by keeping the bee colonies away from the pesticide treated areas, and as a prophylactic measure giving sugar syrup and to the bee colonies so that the bees don't go to the poison treated areas or pesticide treated areas. And again, this is also a technique wherein the yellow banded wasp in Sakleshpur area, our research team could record, they used a water trap, and there they have used Asafoetida ingu, that is called in Kannada. It is used as a repellent for yellow banded wasp. Then again, wasp nests can be searched and they can be destroyed. That is one indigenous technique. Then wasp trapping with discarded mineral water bottles containing sugar syrup. These are some of the techniques used by beekeepers to get rid of the wasp menace. And again, coming to the ITKs, in Maidan areas, we could record 5 ITKs, Karavali or coastal areas 8, and Malnad areas 10. Totally 23 ITKs were recorded. And if you just see the photos, mud pots or earthen pots which have been coated with wax or honey, and even discarded tin containers they are using to attract the bee colonies from natural habitats to these containers. And this is a photo recorded during the last year when our research team visited Malnad. And again in Chikmagalur also, we can just see how they have camouflaged the tin bee colonies or beehives with weeds or something like that, and even mud pots have been placed so that they are using the locally available resources for beekeeping. And this is the portico of a beekeeper in Tirthalli of Shimoga, so wherein they have used earthen pots to minimize the investment cost or the input costs. And this is just a glimpse of that. Then here bamboo hives used in the porticos for stingless bee management or maintenance of the stingless bee colonies. And as I told a short while ago, 2 coconut shells can be just plastered with thermocol plaster or brown plaster, and we can just reunite them and provide a small cavity for the stingless bees to colonize. Then this is a trap devised by Satyanarayana Bhatt. He is a beekeeper, progressive beekeeper from Shimoga, wherein he has provided mesh so that it is permissible to the bees to go in and come out of their colonies, but it will prevent the yellow-banded wasp from entering into the bee colonies. Then these are again low-cost techniques using discarded PVC pipes or sanitary pipes, so which are having optimal temperature regulations. So they also provide thermocol sheets within the pipes, and this will regulate the temperature during the severe winter. Then this is another photo of a progressive stingless bee keeper, Mr. Chandrasekhar from Kalasa in Chikmagalur. So he uses natural, whatever natural colonies. He is a very progressive beekeeper with a traditional mindset, and he is of course, yes, he is a recipient of many awards in this field. And this is also a farmer showing coconut shell, using it for a hive for rearing stingless bees. And of course, when we talk about meliponiculture, it is very much relevant for ITKs. It is a low-cost method of rearing bees, easy management, easy transport, safety, medicinal honey, economical, restricted foraging of the bees, and no absconding of the stingless bees when we compare it with the Indian bee or Apis indica. I think this is the overall summary of whatever I could deliver in today's opportunity. And what are the advantages of ITKs with regard to beekeeping? So it encompasses 3R philosophy, that is reuse, reduce and recycle. It is an eco-friendly option, and it is a low-cost option. Locally available resources are optimized, and the stingless bees, which are the most ignored or neglected species of honeybees, I think they suit the ITK concept, and it is gaining importance. In fact, in Kerala, people who are suffering from a terminal illness like malignancy or cancer, they go to Kerala for getting the stingless bee honey. They are willing to pay nearly 3,000 or 2,500 rupees per kg of stingless bee honey, so that they can be cured of their malignancy or cancer. I am not exaggerating, it is a fact. And stingless bees require less management measures, and they are ideal for ITK concept. I think with this, I thank the KSCST for giving me an opportunity, and I also thank my parent organization, UAS Bangalore, for giving me an opportunity to share our research findings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If we have any questions, you can post in the chat box, and we'll contact the sir, and we'll share the queries with the sir, and we'll get back through email.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have our next speaker and the last speaker of the webinar, Mr. Praveen Kumar, yes, from Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. Mr. Praveen Kumar, yes, is from IIT Madras and is presently working as the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of the Education Wing of Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, which is a development organization running 8 institutions and over 40 projects covering all the districts of the state. Mr. Praveen is engaged in promoting the quality of education in rural areas of Karnataka and has designed and set up the first science explanatory park in the state at block level Praveen has also worked as science and mathematics facilitator for the last 16 years to a diverse group of students from 6th standard to research scholars. His students are now studying in the IISc, IITs, IISER, and NITs, among other premier institutions. He has also worked as a research associate at the Robotics Lab and Research Academy. With this brief introduction, I request Mr. Praveen sir to take over the session on indigenous practices and technology adoption in health and social economic development. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, KSCST team. I have a very short presentation just to sort of set the context of where I come from and the communities that we work with. As you have mentioned, I represent this organization called Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement. We work across the state, but a lot of our operations come out of this small area called HT Kote, Hegardevankote Taluk in Mysore district. We in this taluk we work with several indigenous tribal communities, the Jaina Kurba, Kada Kurba, Yarava, Soliga, Paniya, and just to note that these tribal communities are a subset of the scheduled tribes. So if you look at the underprivileged communities in this area, that is over 50% of the population itself. Now, all these indigenous tribal communities were forest-based tribal groups. So they were evicted from the forest when the Nagarhole and Bandipur forests were declared. So they do come up with, or they do have a lot of traditional knowledge, which we have attempted to understand and possibly share with other communities as well. So this presentation briefly will try to capture three such experiments which we have done. One is all these communities, they have a very strong knowledge of flora and fauna around them. To give one example, we run a tribal school in which one of our science teachers had asked the students of grade 5 to list out all the edible leaves. And the teacher was expecting the students to come up with some 6 or 7 names. But there was this tribal boy in 5th standard who had come up with over 60 names. So our knowledge of what is edible or not edible, was not even sufficient to be able to evaluate whether the student had the right information or not. So they come up with a very immense knowledge in their surroundings as well as an understanding of flora and fauna. We have had cases where when you go into the forest, tribals have the ability to actually smell an elephant nearly a kilometer away. So they can tell in which direction there is an elephant herd and which direction they should avoid moving and so on. The other thing they have is their endurance. Now, generally in medical practice, we see that when you take the hemoglobin levels, it's said that anything below 12, you are considered to be anemic. So you have to improve your hemoglobin levels. But we have seen that generally among these tribal communities, they have very low hemoglobin levels. We have had cases where the hemoglobin levels were as low as 3 or 4 against an expectation of 12. In spite of that, in spite of very low hemoglobin levels, we have seen these people actually work as laborers, doing hard labor in agricultural farms. So their endurance is something which is very good. Their natural abilities in terms of performing and visual arts, that is painting, dance, music, is also exceptional. Excuse me for the typo there. And they also have very strong social values. If you enter a tribal village, we call it as a hardy here, you will almost always never see a beggar. You will never see a orphan. every person in the tribal community is reported for or is taken care of. One more thing is like we have several instances of harassment being reported very often. But within the social structure of a tribal community, such incidents are very, very low. One more example was when we were working with these tribal kids in the school, we did this one small experiment where we were teaching fractions. And we had created a scenario where a student had to access or go to a table where he would get a maximum share of a cake which is placed on the table. So one table would have 2 people sitting, one table would have 3 people sitting, and so on. While in a normal setting, a kid naturally chooses to go to a table which has only 2 kids so that he gets a maximum share of the cake. In the tribal community, we saw that the kid actually goes to the place where there are maximum number of kids. So actually he gets the smallest share. So when we found out why a kid chooses something like this, kid came up with a brilliant answer. He said, I'll go to a place where I can share with maximum number of my friends. That gives me more happiness. Now, this social value is something which is not incorporated in our education systems. Even when we practice agriculture, practicing agriculture is to produce for tomorrow, to generate income for tomorrow. But tribals, by their nature, they have always been food gatherers. So they only survive for today. They never plan for tomorrow. So when we work with these tribals, introducing a concept of savings or introducing a concept of self-help is something which was very difficult for all of us. So we try to understand what their natural abilities are, what they are good at, and how do we build on those strengths for their socio-economic development. Now, in this current scenario, there are few realities. One is they are forced out of their natural habitats. So while they might be very good at their knowledge of flora and fauna, they are no longer allowed to venture into the forests. Though there is, on paper, there is a provision that they can still use agricultural produce from the forest, their access is fairly limited, right? Through as a community, they have not practiced agriculture, but the government has sort of compensated each of these tribal families with some land. And with 2 generations after eviction, even the size of the land has now after further distribution has become very, very small. We have had cases where because tribals are not well versed with practicing agriculture, they would lease out their land to farmers coming from Kerala or from other areas, and they would go work in the same land as a laborer. So they have no idea of how agriculture had to be practiced. Many times they didn't even have the seed capital to start agriculture, even if they intended to. The other challenge is the policies and the education that we provide. Now, with respect to access to health, we are if you look at the government policies, there is a lot of push towards institutional deliveries. So we expect every kid to be born in a hospital. But a tribal community, generally the push was earlier was towards home-based deliveries. So there would be a woman in the community who was well versed with carrying out home-based deliveries, and there was a lot of traditional knowledge around such practices, which we are, by our policies, we are forcing them to actually lose out on that knowledge. The second thing is with respect to food and nutrition. Tribals, because of the availability of resources inside the forest, their food practices were mostly around tubers, roots, and maybe to some extent meat. But if you look at the food distribution program which we have through the fair price shops, we only give them rice and wheat. So we are actually forcing them to move away from their natural food practices. Same is the case with the education. While they are very good at arts and dance and music and so on, we force them to learn science, maths, and so on. So in this scenario, a lot of these students actually find it very difficult to cope up with the education system as well. So the dropout rates, especially when it comes to high school, are fairly high, or they don't see that education is actually leading to some revenue generation directly. So we have, when it comes to indigenous technologies, when we look at the technology, we are looking at either products or processes that improve the quality of the produce or the products. Now, several practices over generations have become rituals. But if you sort of dissect those practices, we will be able to get down to those deep thinking or understanding of nature. Just to give an example, when the food grains are dried in the sun, we among the tribal communities, we have seen that they don't mop up all the food grains completely. They do a, by normal standards, they do a bad job of leaving some food grains away back at that place. Now it is from their understanding that these food grains are also for the birds and the insects to survive on. So when we look at these practices of what they do and why they do, we will be able to sort of get down to the roots of the scientific basis of each of these practices. One more simple example is whenever there is a delivery happening, in the tribal communities, there is a practice that they deliver a child while in the squatting position. Now, modern medicine always pushes for a delivery on a delivery table or a delivery cot. So, which is while the mother is in a lying position. Now, today we have enough research to prove that the squatting position is much more efficient or much more safer for both the mother and the child to deliver a child. But as a practice, it was being used by the tribals for several thousands of years. And through a systematic mechanism, we have actually said that this is not a good practice. You have to come to a hospital. And we have changed those practices also. So not everything is scientific, but there behind those rituals, some practices will have a scientific backing. And the tribal communities also don't come up with these practices through that scientific rigor, but with observation and wisdom passed on from generation to generation, they are able to do that. So coming to three specific cases where we have been able to look at indigenous technologies or knowledge systems, was one with respect to their traditional health practitioners in the community. In a joint project with the Transdisciplinary University and Karnataka State's Remote Sensing Agency, we were able to actually map at the household level what are the traditional medicinal herbs that they are aware of, what is it that is available in that locality, as well as the scientific basis for something being good for health. So when we say as access to healthcare, today's system is said as primary healthcare at a PHC at the Gram Panchayat level. Then there is a secondary healthcare at a taluk level and a tertiary healthcare at the district level. One of our attempts has been, can we say that the household at the home is where there is the first level of access to healthcare? There are lots of home remedies at within the home which can where there is traditional knowledge passed on from generation to generation that can be used. Now here is a small catch. Among the traditional health practitioners, there is a general belief that if you share this knowledge with someone outside your family, the power or the curing ability of that medicine comes down. Now it is a blind belief, but we have to be sensitive to this when we approach the tribal communities to share their experience. Now, as a part of this, we have been able to identify as many as about 600 medicinal plants which are used in Ayurveda, Unani, and to some extent even Siddha medicine, which were available in those tribal areas, which are being used at the household level but not documented. So that is one area where we have done some work, and there is an opportunity to build on that expertise. The other thing is, when we are pushing healthcare to the household as the first level, we are making healthcare much more accessible. Accessible meaning we are making healthcare much more cost affordable. Every time we push a patient or their family members to a hospital, though it is a government hospital, it is a cost. There is a cost attached to it. While we might say everything is for free, from the gatekeeper, everyone does take a small bribe. However small, there is a cost attached to it. The second one where we have looked at or tried to understand is what happens within a home, how a newborn child is cared for, how a mother is cared for, and like I mentioned, what happens during a household delivery. The tribal women who have been identified as midwives in the tribal community, the traditional knowledge systems that they have among themselves is something which needs to be understood and replicated across multiple locations. And the third one, we have seen that these, like I mentioned, these kids are very among the tribal communities are very good at kinesthetic skills. So they are usually kinesthetic learners. They don't really appreciate math and science, but if there is something visual, they are very good at. So one of our attempts has been, how do we convert these skills into vocations which can then lead to socio-economic development of those communities. So one of the experiments which we did was with lantana furniture. Lantana is like bamboo. It is a weed in the forest which can be brought by these tribals from the forest, and after a bit of processing, it can be converted into furniture. It looks very similar to the cane furniture which we were seeing earlier. Now, tribals have this innate ability of handling lantana. If you are able to convert this into a business venture where it can lead to their social and economic development, is one experiment that we have done. The other experiment we have done is a ragi food processing unit. The photograph which shows here is a group of tribal women who were trained by CFTRI in making 14 different edible products with ragi as the base. Whether it is ragi based chikki or the malt or the ragi apla which you see in this photograph, all of them are ragi based food products, which are ragi as a raw material is bought from the local market. These tribal women actually own this small firm with a little bit of machinery where they are able to convert them into produce which can then be sold. So these women actually draw a salary along with making a small surplus also. So this is a self-sufficient, in fact, a profitable business venture which is built on their traditional knowledge of how to handle ragi and their kinesthetic skills. Another aspect which we have been looking at an individual level, not as a group, is the ability of tribals in performing and visual arts. We have had several students performing or taking up diploma in performing and visual arts. We have students who went into theater. So they are also able to build their livelihood based on these skills. However, it is not without challenges. So we have multiple challenges also. One of them is the gap between the skills and the local economy. In the tribal communities, we have a boy who is extremely talented in painting, but the value that the local community can attach to a painting is, and the monetary value that they can bring in, is actually fairly limited. So many times what happens is this forces to be able to get some appreciation of that, they have to move out of their traditional the tribal communities, which some students cope up with, some students struggle. The second one is the access to technology and access to seed capital is something which is a challenge today. For example, in our school, we as a part of our curriculum, we teach basic agriculture also to all the students. But when they go out after schooling, when they go out to start agriculture themselves, they do really struggle with the initial seed capital to start agriculture by themselves, or they stay in areas which have even today have very limited access to mobile phones, or limited access to even radio signals. So whenever we are talking about markets, and whenever we are talking about new age research that has to penetrate or percolate all the way till the last farmer in the tribal areas, there is a challenge here. And the last one is because culturally they are not very driven by standardization, standard practices, and so on. So in the Ragi unit, for example, it took a lot of effort for us to ensure that every batch of chicky looks the same. For the tribals, it is almost like if it is edible, that is fine, right? But why do we worry so much about the size, the thickness, and the consistency of the chicky and so on? So these are challenges which we have to train these people consistently on. And there is a lot of learning that can happen from their skills and build on those skills, leading to economic development. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think somebody who logged in with the name Native Circle has some question. Oh, sir, is there any question? Sir, I think no question. Probably he raised the hand, but I don't know for what reason. Anyhow, thank you, sir. It was a very detailed presentation about the lifestyle challenges and the technology, how we it's making an impact in the tribal communities. Thank you, sir, for having you with us.
Thank you.
And then now we have reached the end of the webinar. I request a project engineer of Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, Mrs. Anjani, to thank each and everyone.
We are at the end of the program. It is my pleasure to deliver a vote of thanks. It is my sincere thanks to Professor Vasundhara for sharing the good knowledge, information about the medicinal aromatic plants and its distillation methods, its units, and about different products and plant availabilities, soil condition, and all this cultivation knowledge. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing a very good knowledge about the medicinal and aromatic plants. I would like to thank Dr. Nandini Dolepat for sharing the information about locally developed indigenous medicinal practices and which are not broadcasted globally, and how these practices can be broadcasted or the globally made it available. And thank you for sharing those knowledges, ma'am. Thank you, Nandini ma'am. I express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Dronachari from UAS for sharing the technology and the machineries revolution in agriculture, sericulture, and horticulture, and how these technologies can be developed by the students. Thank you, sir, for sharing the good knowledge. I would like to thank Professor K.S. Jagadish for sharing the knowledge about the beekeeping and challenges, practices in the apicultures and technology evolution in the apiculture. Thank you, sir. Special thanks to Mr. Praveen Kumar for sharing the knowledge about the indigenous practices among tribal community and current scenario of the indigenous practices in the state. I would like to thank all the speakers once again, in spite of the busy schedule, coming here in this webinar and sharing a good information in the field of their expertization. I would like to thank all the participants for showing the interest in taking part of this webinar and making it success. Finally, I would like to thank KSCST Executive Secretary and all the staffs who contributed directly and indirectly for the success of this program. Thank you, everyone. And certificate link will be shared. Link is shared in the chat box. I request all the participants to fill the certificate link. Certificate will be issued. Those who fill the link, certificate will be issued within a week. I request all the participants to fill the certification link, and please leave the session once you fill the link. Thank you all. Have a good day.